Hi everyone, I wanted to provide a little overview of how to use Google Scholar in your research. I know we have a lot of great library resources, but Google Scholar is my favorite just because of how easy it makes it to access articles. What you can do is make sure you're logged into your Coyote account, and that would be through your Gmail address, coyote.csusb.edu, I think, is how that one ends. And then you'll want to go into your settings and make sure that your account is linked to CSUSB. So when you can come in here to this account tab and double check to make sure that you have access to the off-campus resources. Once you've done that, you should be able to just go to the search bar and search for things that are interested to you. So for example, if we want to look up women in a male-dominated field, we can go here. And then you'll know if you're linked up to CSUSB's library resources if you have this Find It at CSUSB that shows up in some spots. Now, some articles are published under open publishing, which means they're just freely accessible all of the time. Most of the time, the authors have to pay some sort of a fee to the journal for that, but then they'll just show up like this. Well, Cornell EDU, that's a university, so this is free because it's through a university, but this one's probably published openly. When you're looking at these sources, there are a lot of different results, a million. There's no way you can possibly look through those. So there are a few things that I do to help myself start to narrow in on what might be most interesting. Well, first of all, look at the title, obviously. Does it have the keywords that you're interested in? Sometimes articles will be really focused on a niche group of people. Engineering careers, that's kind of niche, but not super overwhelmingly niche. However, here's one in financial markets, and I encourage you to just make sure you're not looking at a very specific field if that's not the one that you're in. You know, some findings are relevant across fields, but for example, I was just looking up mental health issues and creating a safe environment for people to talk about mental health in the workplace, and a lot of what was coming up was nursing related and related to COVID-19. Now, those findings might not be transferable into normal businesses like financial oriented or accounting or government organizations because the different mental health concerns are distinctly different in nursing because they're dealing with sick patients. They might get sick themselves. Their patients might have really unfavorable outcomes like death or something like that. So just kind of make sure the context is what you're looking for. Another thing you can do to see the possible strength of an article is look at how many articles that it's cited by. So if we have an article with these higher citation counts, it doesn't automatically mean that it's better, but quite a few other researchers found this research to be useful, so it could be a good place for you to begin. Another thing that you can do is set up a custom date range. For me, I usually like to keep things in the 2010s and earlier. So 15 years old is about maximum how old I want my articles to be. Ideally, they're even 10 years. So you can set up something like 2010 to 2024 and set your custom range there. So that narrows it down quite a bit. And now we're looking at only the most recent stuff. Sometimes Google will do this weird thing where it will include articles that are just citations and not actual articles that it can find access to in the internet. So you can uncheck include citations, and that oftentimes will drop your value down. It's kind of an older thing, like if somebody cites a really old article that's maybe been lost over time but is still relevant, the citations will pop up. So that makes sense to me why it didn't narrow any down. Okay, let's say you're sold on using this article. It's cited by 420 people. That's pretty good. You can hit this cite button and it will give you a generated citation for this article in other citation styles. However, there are usually issues with this because it's just based on metadata that was oftentimes inputted by the author or the journal, and it's not perfect when Google creates your citation. So here, for example, we don't need this essay over the top, and we also need to capitalize industrial psychology. Otherwise, the only other issue with this citation is that we're missing the DOI. You'll always be missing the DOI from Google, and I don't know why that is, but it is. So you'll usually need to go into the article then and search around for the DOI. Oftentimes, it's hidden somewhere. Usually, it's at the top. If the article doesn't have a DOI, it often has a stable URL, which this would be a stable URL that we could paste in place of the DOI. But ideally, we want to find a DOI if it has one. Let's say this article was the best article you ever read, and you thought, yes, this is exactly the kind of thing that I want to find. You can click on the articles that it's cited by. So going in here, these are all of the articles that cite this article that you really like. So let's say you want to look up searching within citing articles for business. See if there's anybody that cited this article that is also talking about business. And that narrows down our results a little bit. And maybe you're interested in managers. Remember, we talked about the Boolean search terms. We can use and to narrow down management. Maybe we want to narrow it even further to accounting. Wonder if that will give us anything shorter. Okay, so then we can start looking through here to see what we might find. And, I'm not asking you to do all of the research that's ever existed on this topic. So I encourage you to just stick with the resources that are really easily available to you. But if there's a resource you really want to read that's not available to you, reach out to me and I can help you find it. Otherwise, our librarians, if you message them through the instant messaging portal, they're always really happy to help. This is where I would start Google Scholar if I were in your shoes. Good luck with your research and let me know if you have any questions.